So thank you guys for the pleasure of supporting you this weekend.
Yes, thank you for having us. It's been amazing.
It's a really great weekend.
And it really was life-changing, actually.
Yeah. Well, great. Can you share a little bit about just what your experience was over the last 2 days, what you're taking home with you?
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, I think that even starting before that, what brought us here, I think is just this disconnection that we've been feeling in general. And kind of knowing that we needed to do something, but not really sure what. And the fact that you offered this is just such a beautiful gift. And so it took us a while to get here. But now that we are here, I'm so glad that we did this. I think that these 2 days, just sharing the intent, just having the intention of even doing it, started the work before we even walked in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really felt like over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of interactions where it felt like we had, tension in our relationship, and, we would both sit down and try to figure out how to, what was wrong and how to try to work on that. But it felt like a lot of the times we were just getting stuck and not really understanding how to really hear the other person or, accept what it was that they were saying. And we just got hung up on not being able to really move forward and, make space for each other. And so
we're just fighting a ton.
Yeah, we just fought a lot.
It sucked.
And,
yeah.
We would be able to make up enough to move forward in, the day to day, but it just felt like the connection wasn't really healing in the way that we wanted to. And so it was really nice to dedicate a weekend here with you to really kind of go deeper and be able to talk about all of those issues and understand where we were each coming from and why we were acting the way we were. And it really, I think, just allowed us both to have the space to express why we were frustrated in each situation, and I think also really appreciate the other person of where they were coming from and see that that, their position makes sense too, and I can appreciate their vulnerability and why they're sensitive to that, and then start seeing each other as partners.
Yeah, really I think great. Yes, exactly. Because I think that the partnership has been the biggest issue for us. We've been not treating each other as if we're on the same team for years, and it's just been slowly chipping away at our relationship. And I mean, you've been able to identify gently in a way that hasn't been you have helped us redirect our blame to actually being understanding of each other rather than just blaming each other, which is just so toxic. And I just feel like there's so much, I mean, this is really going back to school for our relationship. It's truly as if we are going home with a new set of tools that is life transformative. I mean, it's really incredible what's happened.
Completely.
It's
thank you.
Yes, thank you. I mean, over the 2 days, what we've done is, we came the first day, and it's not like we had a list of things that we even wanted to do. It's we had some issues that we talked about, but it was very organic, and it was also very relaxed. And so it wasn't, okay, from 1 to 2, we're going to talk about this stuff, and from 2 to 4, we're going to talk about this stuff. And I think just you holding that container made it so easy to flourish and things to come up that wouldn't have come up in a weekly session. I think that's actually very a good distinction, because in our lives, we have busy lives, and us committing to 1 hour a week or 1 hour every other week, while we might have made that work for a few weeks, to do that for the length of time that we were here this weekend is just, it's not sustainable. We can't do that with our family and with our lifestyle. And so to be able to actually have a deep dive like this is just, it's invaluable.
And I think it just it allowed for more space of everything to seemingly like have its time and opportunity to be discussed. And so like little things like, oh, like the tone of voice you used during like a when you had to like slam on the brakes and like a traffic stop, and like that irritated me, and like to like not feel rushed through like that conversation. I think to like actually be willing to like bring that up because we like have the space. And I think it was like we actually like went through that experience and actually like learned things about each other, and better ways to communicate. And I think, you know, that type of growth can come from anywhere. And so it was really cool to like have this environment where it felt safe to talk about things, whether it was something really big or something really small. Just the range was great.
Yeah, and it's like, I think that our patterns are now reprogrammed. Like, I think that or at least we have the tools to reprogram them slowly. So like our patterns were, I was very critical, and then you were very defensive, which then shut me down. And that toxic pattern of this critical, defensive, like over time, it's so toxic that it really eroded our relationship. Like it was, and then me trying to be not as critical, but then you trying to compensate. It was just a mess. Like we just didn't even know where, like what end was up at certain points. So like, I think what happened with me over the past 2 years when it has been a full shutdown. And so I think that this has actually like softened me. Like it's just, I didn't think anything could. And so that's honestly the truth.
Yeah. And I think it's just served as like a reminder for me to like, you know, be present enough to create space for you so that you can really express all of those feelings that you have, and have enough confidence in myself to know that like, you know, I have the strength to, you know, sit there and listen and absorb it. And I want to do those things, and, you know, to be a better partner, and know that, you know, at the end of it, like we'll come out on the other side and we'll both be happier for it.
Totally. And I think another thing that Ania brought up that was really helpful was just the fact, like the masculine and feminine energy, like that is totally off in our relationship. I'm from a family of all masculine energy. Like my mom is a martyr, and my dad was absent, and I have taken on the role of just being everyone's masculine everything, and that doesn't jive with, there's no space for you whatsoever.
Right.
And so I'm now stepping into a more feminine role of just like receiving, but also like supporting, and like, but also feeling like, I think something you said about the being the queen in the house, like that is like such a relief to think that I can actually relax and trust you to do different things. Not even just taking out the garbage, it's like actually like emotional support, and you don't just feel like I'm just coming down and like, you know.
Right. And it's not just about, it's also like, you know, just having the environment where it's like, it's not always about solving everything. And sometimes it's just about, you know, dedicating the time to just like listen and have that environment where it's just okay to just like, you know, let you just talk through all of your feelings, and just know that there's someone there to be supportive. And just to have that, you know, knowledge of, you know, hey, like if that's what you need right now, if you're just looking for someone to listen, like that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that like 48 hours ago before we got here, this is not what we would have said. like, I mean, truly, it has been a life-changing event.
Yeah, no, it's just dramatic difference in a short amount of time.
Right, and it's like, we also turned off our phones, which Ania recommended us turning off our phones, which is not easy, but we had to tell our families that we were not available, and they were fine with it, and that's that. And so we did, and that was amazing.
Yeah, that honestly has been easy. Like, I mean, I don't even think it was like one of those like, oh, do we really need to? And then it's like, once you do it, it's like, yeah, who needs it? Like, there's more important things to focus on.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of amazing.
Right.
Highlighting phone addiction and everything. It's like, there's so many levels. So yeah, it was just really unbelievable. And it's just like I think even just like the fact that we allowed ourselves this space is healing in itself.
Yeah. Well, that's my final question. If you want to just share a little bit about like what you're embracing now, like what you're going to be taking home, what feelings, attitudes.
Yeah.
Boy.
So many. I think the first feelings that really come to mind for me are like just inspiration for our marriage, for our relationship. I just feel so inspired that like we now have the tools to work and communicate together. I just think I just feel also really like confident, coming from that, and supported. I think this experience has helped me learn that it's not like you against me. It's a lot of the challenges and like fights or disagreements that we've had over time has just been the fact that we're not really creating the environment to really like listen and understand each other. And now that we've gone through this process, I really feel like we do actually support each other, and like we both want what's best for each other.
It's like we learned that.
Right. It's like,
oh.
Right. It's like, oh, like this is my partner and she supports me, and like that makes me feel really good.
It's like what Ania said about like the rust, clearing out the rust on top of the love.
Right.
It's like there was a lot of fucking rust. Like that's,
right.
Yeah, it's like that's now no more. Like,
yeah. And so I just feel, really inspired, about like all of the things that we now have the tools to do. And I just, have so much love for you, and to know that we're going to be supportive of each other is just like really, really encouraging. And
yeah,
I just feel happy.
That's awesome. I mean, that's like just knowing that we're going to be supportive of each other. That phrase is so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what I feel too. It's like we're actually leaving as teammates.
Right.
Like we were just not for so long. And it's like, I think that what I feel, what I'm taking away is like also inspiration, but also like the self-confidence that like I'm worthy of having a relationship this good. That's something that I've always struggled with because of my own family background of divorce and dysfunction. And I think I'm not alone, and like so many people just really struggle worrying about repeating patterns. And for me, I think I was almost manifesting that pattern unconsciously, and so this is stopping that and redirecting me to like my true self. And so I think it's like the confidence to know that like we're gonna be okay, like that we actually have these tools, and like having self-confidence is like a new thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I haven't had that in a long time. And so an openness, I think I'm taking away like openness to like the experience of being in a close relationship again. It's like I have felt kind of on an island and just alone for a long time. And I think now I don't feel alone, and I feel like we're together and that we're doing this together. And it's like, and also just like love. I think I'm taking away love for you, and I'm taking away love for myself. And just like, I feel like I'm just coming from a more resourced place. Like I feel like Ania has taught us how to tap into that. Even when like we falter again, which I'm sure there will be times, it's like I actually am not as scared that we're just gonna like fall into the depths of despair and divorce, and like that's not really who we are.
Right.
It's like she helped us kind of get back in touch with who we are.
Yeah, and it was actually like really interesting too that like over the course of the weekend, I felt like a lot of the things that we worked on weren't always just focused on like the relationship between Katie and I. There was also like a lot of like excuse me. There was the work wasn't always just about, the work between Katie and I. It was also like there was time dedicated to just like each of us as individuals. And so it was like identifying like, oh, there are some things that are impacting me, and it's, kind of seeping into my relationships at work, my relationships with my family or my friends, and like some of the ways that I interact and behave with those individuals. And kind of developing like an understanding of like why I might be having those feelings and having those issues, and also then kind of like developing the tools for how to handle those situations. And I think it was like really helpful to go through that with her, because like she can actually like kind of provide that support system, as well as if she sees me kind of getting back into some of those patterns where I might be exhibiting some of that, some of those types of behaviors. It's like the reminder, like there's another person there to like help remind me of like, hey, like this is one of those things that we were working on with Ania. And it's just like nice to have that support network behind you of like kind of like pulling out your best self as an individual.
I mean, I feel like some of those things that we worked on individually were like groundbreaking revelations.
Right, yeah, things that like I never thought of. It was
like, where did that come from? Like, that was crazy. Like, it just like, it's like created an understanding that we didn't have about ourselves. Like multiple things.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, I feel like there's just so many tools that I now have at my disposal. And so I'm really thankful for, all of that time that we got to spend to like really go deep and kind of like mine the well of all of the various different types of issues and challenges that each of us might have.
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel mostly like empowered. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's a great word.
Yeah, I feel empowered. I feel like empowered in myself, empowered in my marriage, empowered in like the relationships moving forward. Like the light has been shown on like these dark places, and like it's not to say that those dark places don't still exist, but like it's like now I am like, oh hey, like that's interesting, and like it's just a different way of looking at things rather than being just terrified and like coming from a fear place. It's like coming from a more resourced, empowered place is gorgeous. It's like a beautiful thing that I would recommend to anyone trying to have this resource.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I just think the time is so well spent, and just creating an opportunity to really go deep over the course of a weekend, I just think is really transformative and really healing.
And it's like, I will say that like this was not something that you agreed to right away.
Yeah,
like
that's true. And I was skeptical.
Right.
Of, like, oh, that's like a whole weekend, and we have a lot of changes going on in our life recently. We recently moved, and so there's just like a lot going on at home.
We're both working, we're both busy. It's like,
yeah, we're like right before the holidays. There's a lot of travel coming up, so it was like, oh, like,
it's like, oh, one more thing.
Are we sure we can like fit this in? And I'm just so thankful that we decided to like take the time to do this, because I mean, there's nothing more important than our relationship.
Right. It's like the base of everything. And it's just like, I mean, I can't like just, yeah. If anyone else was ever wondering like if this was worth it. Obviously. Like this is just, obviously, like this is just not even a question. I mean, it's just so worth it. It's, yeah, there's no words, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's life-changing.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is huge.